I just heard that you said that you want me like Greek style. Is that true? You think you're tough?
Look, he's not the ring, but I speak with you in the ring, not now.
No, I'm not going to do nothing. I'm not going to do nothing. If you think you're tough, come on. Come on.
This capacity audience split right down the centre. Here we go, 12-2.
Yes, what an awesome main event, and it's Michael Zambides and 𝐼𝐵𝐾𝐿 is the hardest hitters.
Zambides will starve to death rolling, and Zambides taunting.
That's a psych job again. 𝐼𝐵𝐾𝐿 got hurt with that shot. But he's trying to be psychic with him. Same thing with Zambides. Both these guys are very good at what they're doing.
It's certainly a very personal fight, Michael.
Outside fire kick on.
Talking up trash and you'll eventually run into someone who will make you eat your words. And for this video, we're chronicling some of the most dramatic examples of fighters getting schooled after talking way too much. Here's what happens when trash talkers get instant karma.
Do you think you can knock out David Benavidez?
Oh, for sure. He got hurt with a jab and dropped with a jab. I hit harder than Gabriel. I promise I do.
Kenny.
I'm not too sure that right hand didn't buzz. Dirrell blocked.
Just right now, just getting battered by David Benavidez. I got him up these last 4 rounds.
That's it. They're going to stop the fight right now. That will do it.
We all know that Anthony Dirrell has a big mouth, but if you're going to make an enemy of someone, make sure you think twice about who it is. Because if you're going after a truly ferocious fighter like David Benavidez, that is very likely to backfire on you. In other words, Dirrell's constant taunting and mocking of Benavidez sealed his fate and gave Benavidez all the ammunition he needed to put a beating on him. And on fight night, it was just about as one-sided as you might expect. Sure, Dirrell got out there and smiled in his face, trying to make him seem like he was having the time of his life, but anyone who knew what they were actually watching could see the impact that those shots were having on Dirrell. And before long, the storm became far too great to overcome. Benavidez was only growing in competence, and they had no choice but to stop the fight.
I just heard that you said that you want me like Greek style. Is that true? You think you're tough?
Look, he's not the ring, but I speak with you in the ring, not now.
No, I'm not going to do nothing. I'm not going to do nothing. If you think you're tough, come on. Come on.
Just like Dirrell before, what the hell made 𝐼𝐵𝐾𝐿 think that provoking the great Mike Zambides was a good idea? If you know anything about Zambides, you'll know that this kickboxing icon hits like a truck and shouldn't be messed with. And yet 𝐷𝐿 threw cold water in his face and instantly signed his own death warrant. Because even if Zambides couldn't get him in that exact moment, there would be nowhere to run from him inside the ring. And sure enough, all of that pent-up rage came out of Zambides in the most devastating fashion. He stalked 𝐷𝐿 from the opening bell, and though his opponent tried to taunt his way through some early exchanges, you could see that the power was beginning to take its toll. And eventually, when Zambides found his moment, the resulting shot was one of the most brutal knockouts imaginable. A nuclear-charged punch that sent 𝐷𝐿 crashing to the canvas. No chance of survival.
Anyone in here, if I was
boxing, this is what happens. This is boxing. These things happen. So, you know, we're fighting Saturday. Let's go.
If there's one word we could use to describe Anthony Joshua most of the time, it's arrogant. The dude just has this cocky persona, whether he's on a winning streak or not, and it makes it really easy for us to root for his opponents. And when he took to the mic against Daniel Dubois, AJ was doing his best to try and condescend him and make himself look like the bigger man, the more confident man.
I'm just ready to fight.
Let's go. Let's go.
But let's wait till the 21st.
Once the swing go, let's go now.
Sharp, relax. Relax.
Joshua has this main character syndrome, where he tends to try and talk like he's in a movie, like he's always gunning for that quotable one-liner. And he refused to meet Dubois' energy head-on, trying instead to achieve a moral high ground over his opponent, belittling him and his attitude in a very standoffish kind of way. It's all classic narcissistic behavior. But unfortunately for Joshua, it wouldn't be enough to help him out in the ring.
Is that what you're hoping to do with Dubois if the trash talk does kick off? Just kind of handle it in there?
Nah, it's good. We need it. The fans need it. We need it. He needs it. It's good for the sport. It's supposed to talk. And I'll give it back as well. Sort of what we're supposed to do as fighters. I back myself, he backs himself. But ultimately, we fight and we respect each other. That's it.
Watch as he tries to make little of any amount of emotional investment he might make. Joshua is all about the impression he gives off when he's on camera. And so by laughing off the idea of having heated trash talk as just part of the job, he's a built-in excuse for when it doesn't go his way. And trust us, it doesn't. On fight night, this was a disastrous performance. AJ likes to be the hammer, but when he's the nail, it all tends to fall apart. And after suffering an early knockdown, he never recovered. The rest of the fight was all Dubois, right up until AJ thought he'd regained momentum after landing big, only to run directly into a huge counter KO shot.
I see your tape, I see you fighting. You look like an amateur. Now wait a second. It don't mean you're bad. You're good for an amateur. Okay. Something else. How old are you? How old are you?
Is he going to bring up the same thing he brought up before?
I'm just asking.
Oh, everyone else is older than me.
I'm just asking.
Oh my God.
How old are you?
No. I'm 30, man.
Okay. Drop dead.
Badr Hari eventually went on to become a bona fide legend in the sport of kickboxing. But the dude was absolute pain when he was young. Sure, he always kept that arrogant edge to some degree, but when he took on the veteran Peter Graham, he was nothing short of insufferable out there. I'm pretty sure everyone who tuned in wanted to see him get KO'd stiff. And without spoiling too much, they'd eventually get their wish. Hari was really going to some considerable lengths to provoke Graham into a reaction, and the two nearly kicked off huge brawls on several occasions. And we're sure they both just were dying to put hands on the other by the time fight week was coming to a close. However, only one of these men would get their wish, and it wouldn't be his boxing that got the job done.
Happy feet, wombo combo. That ain't Falco. That ain't Falco. Oh!
On fight night, Graham had something extra special up his sleeve for Hari, beating him into one of the most spectacular KOs you'll ever see. After all that wild trash talk and aggression, Hari ended up getting nailed with the perfect KO blow, and to be honest, it's hard to feel too much sympathy for him. The dude deserved to get embarrassed like this. But like a true champion, he did eventually rebound and achieved many great things in his career.
English, please?
If you want me to write your jokes, I can do them for you.
If I want you to read my jokes. This guy's talking about my intelligence. Okay. God damn it. Embarrassing.
Remember, we used to live in a world where people thought that Ben Askren's overall combat sports experience would allow him to defeat Jake Paul in a boxing match? Yeah, that seems like a long, long time ago. Askren was already retired for the second time, and after a tough hip surgery when he decided to take a big payday and fight Jake in the boxing ring. And he was his usual smarmy self in the build-up. But here's the problem. Ben's a terrible striker, always has been. And on fight night, despite only having a fraction of the experience, Jake was able to totally brutalize Askren, achieving the expected result with a first-round knockout that left Ben face down on the canvas. Sure, he took home a payday north of $500K for this loss, but the damage this did to his legacy cannot be understated.
Tim's weaknesses is he's going to find out against Jack Brubaker. That's his main weakness, Jack Brubaker.
Is this a danger fight for you? He's known as a bit of a brawler.
It's dangerous, 100% it's dangerous. Friday, beat 𝐾𝐨𝐧'𝐭. Saturday, celebrate.
Prediction?
It's not going the distance.
It's back to work and Brubaker looks ready to go. In stride, but 𝐾𝐿 will go to work and there's the tap.
Talk trash to a guy like 𝐾𝐨𝐧'𝐭, and you might just end up learning a thing or two about the levels that exist between you and him. And for this guy, he was really, really arrogant during this bout's buildup, likely understanding that this might be his one shot at truly making a name for himself. And yet all of his promises came across as incredibly shallow. In fact, we're not convinced he even believed the BS that was coming out of his mouth consistently during this time. Consider that Jack Brubaker promised that 𝐬 would learn about his own weaknesses in the ring with him. The fight itself couldn't have been further from that. It took just 4 rounds for 𝐬 to confidently beat Brubaker to a pulp. So much so that his corner threw in the towel to save their fighter from the knockout that was very clearly just around the corner. A totally ineffective performance that deserves to be ridiculed.
Loser promoter, the losing promoter shaves their head. Come on, come on. Because we're going to have the new heavyweight champion right here, Chris Arreola.
Let's just say this, man.
Too much. You drink too much.
Come this Saturday, drink 'em. I'll drink you off the table any day also, man.
Who knows why Chris Arreola was so damn confident coming into his fight with Bermane Stiverne. But if his goal was to rattle his opponent's morale pre-fight, well, it's pretty clear that he failed. Arreola just came across as a try-hard trash talker, and he really didn't seem to fill anyone with confidence in his ability to get the job done. Stiverne, by contrast, was the more composed of the two. In the fight, Stiverne was the one who showed true confidence, luring Arreola into repeated traps and eventually scoring 2 huge knockdowns, before the ref jumped in seconds before a potential third to call the fight off. This was a totally brutal performance and proved that you should never really underestimate the power of any heavyweight opponent, because they're liable to spark you unconscious if you do.
Is it on now? Oh, I want me some Mike Tyson, baby. I want me some Michelle Sisley Tyson. You don't get like this folding clothes. Oh, baby. And weaving baskets. You train. I want me some Michelle Sisley Tyson.
Why did Mitch Green think that he was going to be anything more than target practice for the great Mike Tyson? Well, your guess is as good as ours, but he certainly pulled no punches when it came to his pre-fight trash talk. The dude was amped up as can be, laughing off the idea that the powerful and fearsome Tyson could ever beat him, and, well, you all know how this one's gonna go. On the long list of fighters who bit off way more than they could chew by antagonizing an opponent, you gotta have Mitch Green's name somewhere in that mix. 10 rounds of pure hell followed, as Green absorbed relentless punishment from Iron Mike, learning just how misplaced his confidence actually was. Tyson taunted him, he battered his chin, and brutalized his body. By the end of a 10-round domination, you could just see how dejected Green looked.
You lucky I could fight tomorrow.
Let's go right now.
You lucky we're not fighting today. Because in reality, I'll put you in stretch.
You wouldn't even make.
There are many fighters in the modern boxing game who desperately need a slice of humble pie. And right at the top of that list was Teofimo Lopez. And let's be real, his father was also a big source of all the annoyance that the sports fan base felt for him. But when he signed on the dotted line to take on 𝐵𝐠 Kambosos, there were many fans who were tuning in just to see the upset. And believe it or not, Lopez's arrogance was about to backfire. Because in the end, Lopez had taken his eye off the ball long enough for Kambosos to go out there and truly surprise him. It wasn't a blowout, but Kambosos was clearly a lot better than advertised. And Lopez's ego was hurting as much as his body after 12 rounds in there. All that pre-fight confidence didn't amount to much in the end, and this bout represented a huge hit to Teo's reputation within the sport.